Whispers in the Forest. In the small rural town of Onyinye, nestled between rolling hills and thick forests, a group of 5 children set out one warm Saturday morning to fetch firewood for their families. It was a chore they had done many times before, often turning it into an adventure. This time, however, the forest had something dark waiting for them. There was Iridi, the outspoken leader of the group, just 13, but with the maturity of someone twice her age. She was always the one to decide where they would explore. Then there was Sei, her younger brother, timid but always eager to prove himself. Balaji, tall and quiet, carried the machete to cut branches. Twins Zainab and Zayad, the youngest, were inseparable and had an odd sense for noticing things others didn't. They walked deeper than usual into the forest that day, drawn by rumors of a hidden stream beyond the old rubber trees. Laughter echoed among the trees as they played, gathering wood and telling stories. But the mood shifted when Zayad, who had wandered off the path a little, screamed. They ran toward the sound and found him staring at something on the ground. At first, it looked like a heap of clothes tangled in vines. But as they stepped closer, their stomachs turned. It was a body, an adult man, clearly dead for days. His skin was pale, bloated. His eyes stared up blankly into the sky, mouth frozen in a silent scream. The children stood frozen in shock. Iridi was the first to speak. "We have to go? Now." But before they could turn to run, the rustle of leaves surrounded them. From behind the trees emerged 3 masked men, their faces hidden beneath tattered cloths. One of them held a rifle. "Where do you think you're going?" The tallest asked, his voice cold. Sei whimpered. Zainab gripped her twin's hand tightly. Iridi stepped forward protectively. We didn't mean to see anything. We were just fetching wood." "Bad luck, then," said another man, grabbing Iridi roughly. "You're not going anywhere." The children were blindfolded and dragged deep into the forest. Their captors led them through narrow paths, always whispering in a strange dialect none of the children understood. Eventually, they arrived at a hidden encampment, makeshift huts built into the dense trees. It was clear the kidnappers had been living there a while. Locked in a small wooden shed, the children huddled together. Time passed slowly. Days blurred. The kidnappers barely spoke to them, feeding them stale bread and water. They heard the men argue often, especially about what to do with the children. On the 4th night, when the forest was dark and still, Zayad whispered, "I think I know a way out." Everyone stared at him. "I've been watching them. One of the men always forgets to lock the shed properly when he brings our food." True to his word, the next morning, they noticed the door wasn't latched properly. Iridi waited until evening, when most of the kidnappers were around the fire drinking and laughing, then gently pushed the door open. They crept through the shadows, dodging sentries, until they reached the edge of the camp. But just as they thought they were safe, a twig snapped beneath Balaji's foot. "Hey!" someone shouted. The children bolted. What followed was a frantic chase through the forest. The children were smaller, lighter, and driven by fear. They ran until their lungs burned and their legs gave out. Eventually, they found an old hunter's trail and followed it until they stumbled into a clearing with a road. A passing motorcyclist, shocked to see the frightened children, took them straight to the town's police station. It turned out the dead man they had found was a missing informant, someone who had been helping police track illegal logging and other criminal activity in the forest. The kidnappers were part of a criminal group that used the forest as a hideout. With the children's descriptions, local authorities launched a full operation. The camp was raided days later, and several of the criminals were arrested. Back in Onyinye, the children became local heroes. but they never felt like heroes. The forest had changed them. Iridi no longer laughed as loudly. Sei held her hand a little longer than before. Zainab and Zayad rarely let each other out of sight. And Bolaji, once quiet, began to speak out more, especially about the need to protect children. They would never forget the body in the forest, or how close they had come to becoming whispers lost in the trees.